All right, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is Beyond the Horizon, a hopefully to be monthly D&D session that we're going to be running here in this world that we are going to collectively be creating with these excellent players here today. And to start things off, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody introduce themselves, and if they have anything they want to plug or talk about, I'll go ahead and let them do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put it over to the first person I see, who is Brittany. Go ahead, Brittany.
I think you're muted, Brittany. Either that or your headphones made it so we can't hear you.
Might be my headphones.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. My headphones don't have a microphone,
Okay.
so but hi, I'm Brittany. Um I'm going to be playing a gnome ranger named Jitters, and that's kind of all I have. Oh.
Okay. I like surprises. Actually, I don't really know much about these characters either, so that is a good thing. Let's go ahead and next up we've got Corey.
Alrighty. My name is Corey. I am starting a brand new channel that will debut here in the next couple weeks called Beautiful Disaster RPG. I play an awful lot. Today I'll be playing a female human. We'll get the names and stuff in game.
Oh yeah, no problem. That's all about the session zeros are all about character introductions and names and things like that. Feel free to keep any information you would like about your characters for later, if you would. All right, and next up we've got Dave.
Hello, my name is Dave. I'll be playing the character Davrin Zallerson. I am starting a channel soon that's just going to be me rambling about my re-emergence into D&D because I haven't played for a long time. It's going to be called Dragon Eggs Benedict, and I'm pretty excited for it.
Excellent. Awesome. Love the sound of that. Okay. And last but not least, we've got Mark.
Hey, Mark here. Well, I guess I'm going to follow along with the trend of everyone else who is not giving very much information about their characters. So all you're going to get for now is I'm playing a character called Chen Kao, who is a Minotaur Ranger.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
So we're going to have two rangers, huh?
Yeah, don't worry. We're apparently going to be a very rangy kind of group because my character's also pretty rangy. I hope the other dude is at least a little tanky.
I got you covered.
All right. So with that, I suppose we can begin, and we would start here at the 6 foot drop, which is this. You see this huge cliffside with the sea on the opposite end of it, and the sun is burning overhead. It's a beautiful day. The weather is perfect. There's a slight breeze in the air, and the smell of the sea is filling your noses. You've kind of a sweet and salty sort of a smell, and almost a taste. You can almost taste the brininess in the air. And it would be a beautiful, gorgeous day if not for the ropes around your necks, if not for the small crowd of constabularies around you, and a few local villagers. This noose is hanging loosely around your necks, and you're feet away from the cliff's edge as you see a rather stout-looking man with a bulbous nose and a thin, patchy beard, and what would almost be a pompadour wig, just one of those giant, tall, ridiculous, curly white wigs. And he sort of steps forward and adjusts his giant belt over his gut. And he says, "If the prisoners would turn around, the sentencing will begin. The Lady Blythe Emswood, you are charged with treason and piracy most foul. What say you?" And Blythe, if you could describe to me what kind of through a flashback, your character, what the moment that you were caught, and exactly what the circumstances of your capture were, and what was going on at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Blythe is. This isn't the first time Blythe has had a rope around her neck. Unfortunately, she was born to a pirate. Her mother was a whore, and when the baby came, she recontacted her father, a very notorious pirate named Cyrus Elmsworth. He is known as Cyrus the Virus. So, it certainly would strike a chord to every single person in here. So on and so forth. He is highly notorious. I am his daughter. We came, upon land in this town. I'm always the voice of reason for this group. One that is the pretty face, but probably don't want to cross. At the same time, they think that people often think that I'm the weak one of the group, and then when they realize who I am, often back down. Well, we were in the tavern having the raucous time that pirates do, and my father decided he wanted to not pay for our evening. Yes. Sorry. Sorry, ADD. So we were there. They called the constables. A fight ensued, and we took care of business. And unfortunately, I was the last one making sure that everything was cleaned up, and they caught me. My father has been arduously trying to, get my freedom back, but where they held me, I could see the ship, and the ship is not there anymore because he had to leave. So, she certainly is going to maybe have a bit of a reputation, but it's not warranted because it's not her reputation, it's actually her father's. But, so she's, again, kind of wrong place, wrong time. She was there, but she by no means committed any of the crime that she's being said that she did, because she's just the mouthpiece for this group. Don't get it wrong. She loves piracy. Don't get it wrong.
Excellent. So, how do you plead to this pompous-looking man standing before you? You can almost smell the floral perfume that he's doused himself in. This is an overpowering aroma.
And I look down at him. I say, "Sir, I believe I'm misrepresented, so I say not guilty, little man. And I'll tell you, I suggest you take the rope off of my neck, because I will have agents that will fix this issue for me."
And he just kind of takes out a handkerchief and puts it over his puts it over his face. Says, "Oh, breast, it's most foul, filthy woman. Unfortunately, the judgment has already been passed. Oh, such a shame. A pretty little thing, but oh, the name. The name is what kills them every time. Oh, you may turn about. You may turn about."
And as I turn about and I go, everything's in my name. Cyrus the Virus will be here and take care of this.
Oh, good. We have
And,
extra
and there
rope
should
for him.
and there should be maybe like a hush over the crowd. Ooh, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, he wasn't there to save you before now, was he?
you know how us pirates work there, little man. Go on to somebody else, and I shoo him away.
Oh, daddy issues. And he kind of shuffles up. And next, he comes to, is it Davron Zallerson? Is that how you pronounce that?
Davren Zallerson, yes.
Davron, okay. And what does he see when he looks upon you?
Well, Davren Zallerson is a human of average height. He's a little bit wiry and he's very tan because he has not spent the last night that he spent in the jail cell was the first time he really spent any time indoors. So he's just very dirty, like he's a wild man kind of. His hair is kind of long and it's shaggy. Upon when they get to the gallows and he sees this giant cliff, Davron looks over the edge and turns towards the person nearest him and goes, whose feet did they measure for this place? That's a very large feet. What exactly are you doing? As they push around his neck, he's like, this is very fraudulent. I don't understand. I thought this looks very dangerous. And then when the judge looks at him and asks him that, oh wait, he didn't ask a question yet. My bad.
So he at that point
oh sorry.
He would look down at you and say, "Oh, the wild one. You know, this one wandered willy-nilly right into us. He gave himself up willingly. What a fool, what a fool. How do you plead?"
And Blythe, I mean,
And he
Blythe
says
looks
that
over. Go ahead, sorry.
when he looks at there's back to when he first walked into town yesterday, and he walked up to the nearest guard, and he held his arms out wide and said, "Greetings! This is a very interesting place." And he gives the guard this ridiculous, way too touchy-feely hug. Just not creepy, but he just really good hug. He squeezes him and he lets him go. And he says, "My name is Davron Zallerson, and I am looking for somewhere where I could find perhaps I forget the individual's name. Oh shoot. He was a very zifty individual. He didn't remember how tall he is either. He says he's very jacksty, and one would say he's got a wobblet."
And this guard, this huge, muscular guard, looks down at you, towering over you. Like, "Oi, you there? What you got round your belt? What is that?"
Well, this is a snicker snack. And he pulls out a wooden sword, a woman's scimitar, that goes up, and it looks like a regular wooden sword. It looks a lot sharper than you would expect a wooden sword to be.
Little man, we don't allow weapons in the barracks. How'd you even get in here?
I used my zumzumbers, and he points down towards his feet.
I see. Hey, Rory, look at this son. And this crowd kind of starts to gather around you. I'm sorry, what did you say it was again?
These? And he points down.
Yeah, those.
These are
What's-
zumzumbers.
Uh-huh. Hey, a little bit unstable, this one. Now, you mind if I take a look at that wooden thing you got there, what'd you call it? Give it here, would you?
Oh, I wouldn't like to hand you. I don't think it would be a good idea if I let you. If you promise to give it back right away. And he points at him, and he's like, his finger is like waving and moving around, like he doesn't really know what to do with it, and then he kind of gets distracted by it for a second, and then he puts it away.
Oh yeah, right. I'll give it right back. No problem. And he kind of
All right then.
nudges his other guy. And as you hand it to him, another guard comes behind you and slaps shackles on you, and kind of in one fluid motion, your hands are stuck behind your back. Right then.
And he jets forward. He's like, no, what the? What's going on?
Looks like we found our fourth. Oh, got the rest of the day to drink then. And
Where am I going?
oh, it's gonna be real fun. You're gonna go cliff diving. And
Oh, that does sound fun.
as you willingly,
As he gets tugged.
yeah. So you kind of, snapping back to.
Well, as he gets carted off, he's like, "Oh, and don't forget to give me this knicker snack back." As he gets shut in his cell.
And the guy's just kind of looking at it and going, Snicker snack. Whew. And I thought I drank too much. And you kind of come back to the present moment now as the Lord stands over you and says, Oh, guilty, guilty, guilty. This creature.
What does guilty mean?
And he just kind of shakes his head at you. Were you raised by wolves, child?
Actually, I was raised by the Zowler.
Right. Moving along. And he kind of takes a big, meaty step. And you see a couple of people on a stepladder struggling to get this rope over this Minotaur's head. As we see Chen Kao, and he's kind of looking up at you. Ooh. Well, I say, I haven't seen a sight like this in 7 years. How do you please, sir?
Well, this is quite a sight indeed. This Minotaur is standing at about 9 foot and half. Yeah, 9.5 foot tall. So they are definitely having a lot of trouble getting this rope around his neck. um, Funny thing is though, he sees nothing wrong with this. Like they all think he's this weird person, or like, he's just really confused. He's actually on a peacekeeping mission. He's a scholar of sorts, and he's going around from town to town, learning all he can, and providing peace to the people. Which is kind of bizarre for a Minotaur, as they are a brutish sort. And one day, he's walking through a forest nearby this place, this town, and they catch him there. And their first inclination is just to outright kill the guy, because to their eyes, he is just a beast. But then he speaks to them and goes, "No, no, please, I have done nothing wrong." And they can just stare at each other and like,
Nothing wrong.
yes, yes, exactly. I've done nothing wrong. I'm just on a peacekeeping mission.
You.
Yes, yes, me. I come from. I'm sorry.
Never known no Minotaur keep no peace.
Well, Minotaur, I am a human.
No.
Yes, I am a human.
Sorry, I don't mean to giggle at that. It's hilarious.
And he's kind of looking up and says, "Don't you think you're a little tall for a human?"
Why, I am only 5'5". I come from the College of Wintershire.
Ah. You know, you look like a kind of fella who maybe's been cursed a little bit.
Cursed? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, here, look at this. And he holds up his shield. What do you see when you look at your reflection?
I see my human face.
It kind of buffets it a little bit.
And Blake starts laughing hard. She just already enamored by the whole situation, just starts laughing as hard as she can.
We got a bunch of
Zal-
crazy
or,
ones out here.
Davrin looks at the Minotaur and can't help but say, "You're a human too?" I didn't know we could look like that. Oh, like amazed.
Yeah, and I look over at Davros and go, okay, you're batshit crazy, and he's batshit crazy, and I think I might be the only human here, I say. And then I look over and there's this very small woman standing at the end, and I go, clearly.
And Brittany, how do you react to all this? How does Jitters react to all this?
Well, she's terrified about having a noose around her neck. And I'm assuming she's standing next to the Minotaur, so she's probably just looking up at him, like, both odd and confused.
You come to about maybe his first little haunch there.
And you start thinking back to how the hell did I even get here? And how did Jitters end up in such a situation?
What is the name of the town these people are from? Do we have a name?
It's kind of affectionately known as Last Stop.
Last stop. When she had wandered into town, like guiding her little mule, looking all like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I'm assuming somebody ended up asking her for papers or something. I don't know.
Madame, Papers, please.
Papers for what?
That ass which you are carrying.
She's not an ass, she's a mule. And I don't have papers for her. Why would I have papers for her?
You do not carry papers for your property? This
She
is the
was
law of the land.
she was a present from my papa.
Uh-huh, I see. It is not stolen then?
Mm.
Uh-huh. And he kind of goes to the side and he sees a brand in it. Huh. This was reported stolen not too long ago.
But I've had her for 2 years now.
And he kind of looks at the mark again. Said, not from around here.
No.
And he turns the mule around and points to the brand. What does this mean to you?
I don't know, it's there when Papa gave it to me.
Only mules from this area bear this mark.
Well, maybe he bought it from here.
I think we need to bring you in for question.
Well, I didn't do anything.
And he would kind of put you in a hold, and you would feel these bindings kind of wrapping around you.
Yeah, but what about Joe?
Tiny horse will be okay for now.
Okay.
And we snap back to the present moment once again as you're staring up at this massive minotaur, probably as tall as 3 of you combined, 3 of you stacked on top of each other.
She's only about 3 foot tall.
Yeah. So, and the Lord just kind of looks down at you and says, "Stealing an ass? Crime most foul.
I didn't steal her.
Turn around and be gone with you. Face the ocean. Your judgment will come soon."
I didn't do anything.
I'm sorry.
When the guy tells her to turn around, Davrin turns all the way around, like a 360 degrees, and does a little holds his arms out in like a ta-da.
Oh, he thinks he's being funny. Janice,
It's
drop. I'm done with these fools.
I insist we have done nothing wrong. We are simply here.
You are simply mad. Sir.
What are you charging me with?
Madness most foul. It is a crime, don't you know?
That is preposterous.
Well, you're more than welcome to take it up with appeals. The process takes 3 to 5 weeks. Can you hold your breath that long? And he just kind of pops around and lumbers off.
You're stupid.
And you're about to die.
when he says about to die, that's when the realization finally falls on Davrin what is about to happen. He, at this point, has no idea what they was going to do. He thought they were going to fall, and it was going to be a fun ride. He just had no idea why there was a rope tied to his neck. When the judge says die, Davrin becomes way cold. He looks around and is like, "Oh my Bablo."
And you see a man in a hood, a
I
black
don't.
hood, stepping forward.
Is there anybody close enough that Jitters could attempt to kick them?
Kick something?
Yeah, kick like either the judge or whoever's coming toward them to push them off the ledge or something.
There is a relatively stale horse dropping near your foot.
Better try to kick that toward the judge then.
Absolutely. And it kind of, and he just kind of freezes there for a second. And he turns.
Angel face.
Yeah, and Blythe again starts busting out laughing. It's like, does a little sniff thing to her. You smell kind of shitty.
At this point, Chin is gonna be like turned around and he's gonna be huddled over.
And
Davrin, when she kicks the. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. You go first.
She kicks poo at Judge. Davrin, he's still so confused. He thinks that she's begging. That's her way of begging. So he finds the nearest thing to kick at the judge and kicks it as hard as he can right at the judge.
Okay.
And like makes like a pleading face.
What do you kick, sir?
He kicks his shoe.
Shoot
He actually kicks the shoe off of his foot. His shoe comes out. He kind of uses his other foot to move it down because he couldn't see anything around. So he kind of like his foot, and I just rolled a dice. I rolled a 15, so it flies with genuine velocity towards the judge.
You knock the pompadour wig off of the judge, revealing his bald, moly head beneath as he's turning. And he just kind of looks back at you all. And he looks to the executioner and he says, "Drop it. Drop it now." It looks like he's about to cry.
Right. Okay, so now I would like to look out into the. Is there a crowd?
Yeah, there's this pretty. It's a growing crowd now. You guys are attracting attention because this is a very unusual. It's not unusual for there to be a hanging at 6 foot drop, but this is the Jerry Springer of hangings. Like no one's ever seen anything like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I look into the crowd and see if I use perception to see if I see anybody from my group?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, that is a 16. 12 plus 4.
You do look into the crowd, and you see that there's a lot of locals and people that would be farmers and masons and people that would be blacksmiths, and then all of a sudden there's a woman there who is very out of place. She is not familiar to you, but by her trappings, you know her to be a pirate or someone who has had, at the very least, has been to sea for very long periods of time.
Right. And I just kind of look up. I connect eyes with that woman. I kind of nod a little bit.
And she is she's an elven woman with very long, elongated, almost exaggerated ears.
Okay.
And her skin is pale, despite the fact that it looks like she's been outside for most of her life. And her eyes are actually black. They're completely black. And you can see with before anybody else that she pulls out a rather large-looking flintlock pistol, and she holds it up, and she fires it one time, just mere moments before the executioner is about to kick the first person off of the cliff.
Is that me first?
Yes, I would believe so.
Yeah, are you gonna go in the same order that you spoke to us? So that would be me.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep.
So that would be the gunshot would go off, and the crowd doesn't panic. They don't flee. They're kind of used to the sounds of guns firing and things like that. But there's a total with what there's people talking to each other, kind of a raucous crowd, and then all of a sudden it's dead silent, and all you can hear are the waves and the wind. And this woman, immediately the crowd parts for her. And
Now, did she shoot that straight up in the air, or did she shoot that in our direction?
it was straight up in the air.
Straight up in the air. Okay.
And she kind of takes it and holsters it, and the guards react, as if this is a threat. But she holds her arms up, and in one hand she has a document, a piece of parchment with a wax crest pressed into it, which looks like an anchor with trident tips instead of a more traditional looking anchor. So it's got bigger barbs on it and a little bit more curve. And she says,
I would like to. Oh, sorry.
"Oh no, go ahead."
I just wanted to say really quickly, when the gun went off, Davrin has never heard a gun before, so he freaks out.
Okay.
Yeah,
He screams at it, and then he starts like hyperventilating because he's terrified of technology. So he would just start hyperventilating, and he would never take his eyes off the pistol while she's talking or whatever she says.
And she
Can I interrupt as well?
what's that?
So can I interrupt as well?
Yeah.
Chin Kao has never heard of gunfire either because he's a scholar. And when the gunfire goes off, he jumps. Like, you've never seen a Minotaur jump like this. And he just like, ah! And he kind of like jumps back, and he actually he breaks the rope as he's jumping back, or breaks the noose.
And you come this close to almost slipping off the edge of the cliff.
Yes, yes.
Like you do one of those balancing things.
Yeah, and now he's on all fours. Kind of
And
like a very awkward position for a Minotaur.
this woman presses forward, almost despite the fact that this chaos is going on. That we've got this screaming person and the Minotaur who just broke this rope, and she's still walking forward very calmly.
Did anything happen to the gallows when he broke the rope? Like, did it move or anything like that?
Yeah, the whole thing it sort of unhinged a little bit.
Okay.
Just slightly, yeah, like it's kind of like the foundation of it is getting pulled up.
Yeah.
And she walks forward, and she walks directly into the middle of the group, and she's holding out the paper, and she says, "I am a free merchant, traveler of the high seas, a trader from the first stop to the last stop. I have here in my hand an article of requisition. I believe you will find that these are in order." And he hands them to the Lord, who is now busy resetting his wig. He's got it on wrong. He's got it on the backwards, so he kind of and he
Is there poo on the wig?
Yes, I was about to say. It just
a little
mixed
bit.
so well with the poo.
and he kind of looks at the document, and he breaks the seal and unfurls it. "You have an article of requisition?" And she says, Is that not what it is? And he's kind of looking it over. And he looks back at the four of you. And there's this fury in his eyes, but he's almost as if he wants to scream, but he knows that he can't. This is a man who wants so badly for you guys to die, but now he cannot. He can't do it. He knows that he himself will hang if he allows you to die at this point. And there's this rage in his face that you've never quite seen before, and he just looks to her, and he looks to the executioner, and he says, "Cut them down. Had enough of this nonsense." And he looks to her, and he says, "A full cycle. No less. And if they return, they're never to come here again." And she puts out her hand, and she says, "It's a deal." And he doesn't shake. He just kind of waves her away. And the
All right. So before the executioner is able to cut Blythe off of the, I'm assuming he's just going to cut the top of the noose there, as we've seen in movies and such. She's going to grab onto the top of the rope. She's amazingly dexterous. If you want me to make a save, I certainly will. She's going to pull up onto the rope, kind of shimmy herself up, and stand on top of the gallows. Meanwhile, still attached to it. And she looks down at the woman and says, "You are not buying me, ma'am. You will not buy me. I'd rather be hung than be bought."
When she said this, Davrin, all of that talk of official and buying people in this didn't register with that either, because he has no idea what a requisition means and this and that. So when she says, "Buy me," he looks up at her, and then he looks at the woman that has this writ of acquisition, and he says, buy us, like buy us as in I'm here, and then she's buy me, like he gestures to like right next to him, adjacent to him.
No, you silly twit. We're talking about this. I think she just purchased us. We may be her property. What don't you get about this world, little man?
I don't understand what you mean by little, but purchase, own, people. What is it with these? I don't understand. He just shakes his head.
We're slaves, fool.
And she would say, "Not slaves, free merchants. You would be among my crew as fair and equal partners in a venture that I believe you will find quite profitable. Or you can hang by your neck.
Profitable?
And I shout down to her.
Oh, I would rather not be.
Yeah, okay. And I shout down to her. I say, "You know who I am, correct?"
Indeed. Your father says my gods.
My father will hunt you recklessly if you are not showing your word, ma'am. And I climb back down, and I go to the executioner, because I'm assuming he's within arm's length. I go, "Cut it now."
And he takes out a huge axe, which you can only assume is also used for beheadings. And he just, "Me no take orders from little people."
When he swings it, Davrin looks at it and he says, "That is lovely." He looks at it with admiration, like he really likes the look of the axe.
Yeah. Here, put your head on this stool. He'll show you how it works, sir. And so, am I free? Or,
Yeah,
okay.
Did you
Yeah,
cut
and
all
I-
of us in one, or?
I very quickly get up, not trying to deal with Davern, and I go over to the little gnome woman, and I go, was it jitters? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay, and I pick her up just slightly. I undo her noose, take her off, and I go. I suggest that we go in with this woman. We all seem a little confused. This guy doesn't even know that he's a fucking minotaur. But she kind of bends down next to you. She's rather tall for a human. She's about 5'6", almost 5'8", somewhere in between there. Because there's no really measurement thing in this time period. You know what I mean? But she's much taller. She's as tall as most men. And she goes, "I'll tell you what. Let's be friends." And she looks down and gives you just a little, like a fist thing towards each other.
Okay.
Right. And I look back to the other two gentlemen and I go, "This is going to be interesting. Can you cut him down? He doesn't even understand what's going on here."
And the executioner just takes his axe and he swings through the other two ropes.
There's no time like the present, gentlemen. We should be on our way.
And you see
He cuts a little bit of Davern's hair off when he slices the rope. And Davern catches his hair and is like, "Oh, Wombly." He looks at the executioner with the snuffly axe, and he says, "Can I have the Snicker snack back? That gentleman said he would give it to me, but I haven't received it."
And you're saying this to who now? To the executioner?
The executioner, because he's the most official-looking person that would be right in front of him.
Yeah. He just kind of looks down at you and says, he just kind of stares at you wordlessly, actually, and he turns on his heels, and as he's leaving, the woman gives him a little handful of coin. She says, "You still have to pay the executioner, even if he doesn't fulfill his duties." And she would step forward and say, "What was that about a Snicker snack?"
Yes, the snack, and he gestures to, basically he holds his hand out in a fist, and he gestures a long, curved blade motion out of his hand.
Now, has this woman identified herself yet, or has she not? I don't know if I missed that.
As what now?
She hasn't identified herself, right?
No, she hasn't told you her name
Okay.
or anything like that.
So, I certainly look over to her and I go, "You seem to be on the same level as me. I don't know what he's talking about. I believe he's talking about a scimitar. He talked about it being wood, but really sharp. I don't understand. And the Minotaur thinks it's a fucking human."
And she would kind of snap her fingers at a nearby guard and say, "The prisoner's belongings. They are my property now as well. You will submit them to me." And you would see a couple of humans kind of trot off and emerge a few moments later with a beat-up-looking trunk that they set forward, and within it would be any kind of personal belongings that you have.
What about my mule?
If you would ask that out loud, she would be kind of like, "It's not really going to be a good place for a mule."
We're going onto a boat, Jitters. Don't worry. It's gonna be lovely.
Will she be taken care of? Could they send it back to my parents?
And she kind of looks to you, and she takes out a little notebook, like a little diary, and she opens up, and it's actually a ledger, and she says, "One mule, okay." And she snaps to another guard, and she says, "The mule in custody. You will return it to, what is your address, dear?"
Blah 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 forest. I don't.
Yes, whatever the name of your father is and where he lives in the general location. She would say, ensure that the mule arrives at this specified location. Once my scouts have confirmed this to be true, you will be paid double your normal fee. And the man kind of salutes and jogs off. She says,
Thank you.
as for you, little one, your debt is growing. She kind of scratches it down. This is okay. You can work it off. Ours is a equitable and completely legitimate business practice with the full authorization and protection of the Admiralty. And she kind of winks.
I'm sorry, what was that? The what?
The Admiralty,
Admiralty?
that is the sea equivalent of, they are kind of the peacekeepers of the sea. They also carry out
When
So kind of the Navy.
the Imperial Navy, basically, but also the Coast Guard rolled into one.
Right.
when she says the word, if Davern can hear her say the word legitimate, was that the word she used?
Mm-hmm.
A legitimate business? That word strikes a spark with Davern, and he rolls an insight of 17 to see if it's a legitimate business or not.
It absolutely is not.
Mm-hmm.
You can, even in your isolation, you can tell, you've been around at least one person in your life. You can tell when someone is implying something heavily in their voice. And that's exactly what she's doing.
Davern kind of twitches a little bit, and he looks to the sky, and he says, Zalor, protect us. As you... Yeah.
And the faintest breeze blows by as you say that. As she says, the crowd is kind of beginning to disperse. The most interesting part of the day is over for the people of last stop, so they're just kind of going back about their everyday business.
Is the judge still there?
The judge has long since departed. He's just done with the whole thing. He got into one of those big carriage boxes, and four burly men hefted him up and walked him off, straining under his weight. You could just very slowly moving forward.
Can Jitters have like stuck her tongue out as he left?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And he would just kind of poke his head out and say, "Enjoy the teeth, my dear."
And
When he says that, Davern touches his teeth and like plays with them a little bit with his fingers and is trying to figure out what he means by teeth.
go as that's happening. I look down at Jitters and I go, you got to get more aggressive than just that tongue. And I shoot the most dastardly gesture of this time period at them, and even turn around and do a little butt shake.
Wait, what was it?
Yeah, exactly. And I show her what it was again.
Davern joins in
"What's he
because
go?"
he thinks this is customary, so he's like mimicking behind them.
So all three of us are throwing this awful gesture. like gang signs.
And the woman just kind of looks at you all and shakes her head, and she says, "I really hope I made the right choice here."
Shannon Kyle just stares at everyone doing this and is like, what is going on? What is wrong with you people?
And I extend a hand down to the Minotaur, who I'm assuming is still laying on the ground, and I go, hey, my Minotaur friend, human crazy person, you may want to get up and not lay on the floor anymore. You look a little strange.
Okay. Stands up tall.
And
You
Davrin helps this. Davrin tries to help this Minotaur to his feet, and says, "As us humans got to stick together, you know." As he looks up at him.
This goes, yeah, humans.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
and the woman kind of puts her hand through her long silvery hair, and she says, "Oh, this is going to prove to be an interesting venture, isn't it?" And she says, "Perhaps I should introduce myself.
Perhaps you should.
My name is Anna. Anna Free Merchant."
Hey, Anna.
And she says,
And
"Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?"
when she introduces herself as Anna, Davrin holds his arm out in this huge gesture of a hug and just embraces her and hugs her really very tightly and says, "Davrin Zallerson, thank you so much for purchasing me."
She says, "Oh, yes, of course." And she kind of does that polite shove.
Oh, it's one of those moments that Chin Kao goes, "Oh, okay, let's do this," and he joins in on the hugs and pushes them right back together and pulls them up just as easily as possible.
Well met.
Oh, you are quite the zipty fellow.
She says, "What's your name, big one?"
I'm Chin Kao, and people have always said that I'm pretty strong for my size.
Pretty strong.
It's because you're almost 10 feet tall.
I'm only 5 feet.
Okay, and I walk up to him and I go, "Sir, I myself am 5 and a little more than a half feet tall." And I'm looking at his belly and I poke him in the belly. And I go, "You're clearly taller than that." And I talk to his belly. And I look up to him and I go, "Yep, that wasn't your face. I talked to your stomach."
Davrin is trying to count on his fingers the best he can as he's learned in his seclusion, and he goes, 5 feet, 6 foot, and points out to the where the gallows were. I don't understand. It's different feet. He's very confused.
Well, we're not talking about your bibbly bops or whatever you called them. We are talking about your feet, as in how tall something is, the size. And I go, "He's at least 9 to 10 feet tall. He is not 5 feet tall. He's twice as tall as I am.
And
Please, we must be done with this." And she's tiny, and I walk over and I put my hand on Jitters.
I think
Maybe.
the 6 feet. I think the 6 feet they were talking about was the length of the rope, not the distance of the cliff.
Very well. Very smart,
That
Jitters.
makes
Very.
sense, he says as he starts nodding his head.
And it wouldn't have worked on
Sorry,
you, big
sometimes
guy.
I can be somewhat bummed out.
And Anna's just kind of like befuddled looking on her face. And she says, "Anyway, shall we go on?"
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Do you have a ship?
Saving us.
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a name yet. I think it's always a good tradition when you start a new voyage to give a fresh name, she says.
Did it have a name previously? Or is this a brand new ship?
"Oh, she's certainly new. We had to be rescued the last time we ventured out. But enough about the past.
Well,
The past, she says.
will there be anyone else joining us on this voyage?
It's not a very big boat, but I do have a few crew members still left after the bellwether incident."
This could be the perfect opportunity.
Has the Snicker snack been put back in
It's in the box.
Zaller's dad?
Yeah, it's in the box. You can grab whatever you had on your person is in there.
Okay. As soon as he's able to, he gets it, and when he holds it, you can see like this wave of relief rush over him, and his shoulders, which were somewhat tense from all the confusion, like slightly snag in place as he puts it in his belt and pats it nicely. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mark, you were gonna say something?
Yeah. This voyage shall prove to be quite the experience. I'll be able to go to distant lands and learn all that I can from these places, new places that I've never seen before.
And meet all the other humans just like you, huh, Chen?
Yes, and exactly.
Okay, yes, we're gonna go with that.
And
I look at Anna and I go, I would like to speak to you as we walk. I say that kind of quiet to her, and I go, Chen, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yes, Chin is gonna go over to his box of things, and he's gonna pull out like just a bunch of books and puts them into his pack and everything, and he pulls out one book and starts reading it.
And I guess now would be the good time because each of you would have a trinket with you that was also in this box. Um, and Chen, what is your trinket that you pick up out of this box, and what is its significance to you in your past?
Well, um, being the scholar that he is, Chen is very much into reading. He reads a lot, which is very bizarre for a Minotaur. You wouldn't expect a Minotaur to read at all, unless as much as he does. And the trinket that he pulls from this box is a gold-plated book. Like it's got significantly intricate woven design that it feels smooth, silken touch, or to the touch. And its significance is that it was one of the very first books that he read as a child, and it consists of a world in which everyone is brought together through calamity. That everyone, despite the troubles that they're in, or the dangers that they are in, and even facing certain death, they all they to do is believe in themselves and believe in their destiny, and they become part of a greater force.
Okay, so is it kind of like a fable or like a fairy tale book, or is it more like a retelling of something that actually happened in history?
It's a mixture of both. It has actual events that has happened centuries ago, even thousands. But it is a fable.
Nice. Oops, my hearing aid just went off. Sorry about that. Okay, so and I think um, Davrin, did you have something besides your sword and your armor, or did you want that to be your sort of trinket, as it were?
No, I did have a trinket.
Okay.
Davrin almost forgets it, actually. Um, as he walks away, and then other people start pouring into their boxes, and then he starts to walk away, and the breeze hits his face, and it's cold and biting. And since they're kind of indoors, it doesn't make a lot of sense for there to be breeze, and it bites him in the nose, and it kind of snaps him back to reality of what's going on. And Davin goes, "Oh my goodness!" And he he scurries over to the box, and if he has to push people out of the way, he does, and he brings out this small wood octagonal. It would be like the shape of an octagonal prism, but it's completely seamless. It's wooden, and when he picks it up, you can hear something move around inside of it, but there is no seams, no way you would easily be able to open this. And on the top of one of the faces, it reads a word in Sylvan that I will not disclose unless someone knows Sylvan. Does anyone know Sylvan?
If no one else knows it, Anna knows it, but she would keep it to herself.
Okay,
She would.
I'll let you know. When it says a single word.
Okay. Let's see. Oops. Gotcha. Okay, so that's the. So she sees that, and she just just kind of like when you're looking over someone's shoulder and you read something off of their book, but you're not going to comment about it. So that's just kind of what she does. She just kind of, oh, okay, and she keeps quiet. She kind of nods. All right, and let's see. Oops. I'll remember your characters' names very soon. I promise. I'm horrible with names. Jitters. Oops. What in the box catches your eye? Oops.
Well, Jitters is transferring stuff from saddlebags into her backpack because she's not going to have her mule anymore. And are we inside now? I'm assuming. Is that what was said?
We can be like in like let's say we're in like the local tavern.
Okay. And I'm assuming it's still daylight, right?
Yeah, it's probably like 2-3 in the afternoon, so it's pretty empty in here at this point. You guys are kind of getting your bearings, getting some food, and resupplying yourselves.
Yeah. Is this the tavern in which I got arrested in?
It is indeed. You're getting some strange looks, like the barkeep he's kind of watching you, but as he cleans glasses, he's just kind of like keeps glancing over at you to make sure you're still there. Right. And he asked you to pay in advance this time.
I'm sure.
I look at Anna and I go, yeah, about that paying thing.
Oh, no problem. And she takes out her ledger and she adds more numbers to it. She says, "Trust me, the first job we get, as soon as we come into a port, you'll be well paid for, minus the convenience fees, of course."
Yes, you seem to be marking down everything we do. That is a very smart businesswoman, I say.
I'm assuming that barkeep does like a double over glance when he sees the Minotaur just kind of like step inside, like he has to huddle down because the door is too small for him. And he kind of gets his horn stuck in the doorway as he's trying to walk through, and he's like, what the heck? Why is this door so small? They made it like for people 2 feet tall.
And I got through fine and I'm 3 feet.
I imagine there's a moment where you emerge through the doorway, and if we're seeing it from the camera's perspective, you're standing there with your Minotaur horns, and then next to you on the wall is an elk mounted on the wall.
Her trinket at the moment, it just looks like a piece of crystal. But if anybody ends up spotting it when the moon is shining, it glows.
Nice. Shines in moonlight.
She ended up just finding it in like a little clearing in the woods one day.
Excellent. All right, and I think that just leaves Blythe, if I recall.
I believe so.
Actually, Anna would, whatever it is, Anna would hand it to you.
Right. And it, out of the box, I also took a menagerie of weapons. She has a heavy crossbow, a hand crossbow that she wears in her waist, and also a scimitar, a real scimitar. Um, and
Nice.
she arms herself, and the last thing is handed to her, and it is the key. It's a key like many people haven't seen before. It's got a pirate skull on it. It's so on and so forth, and it's handed to me, and I go, "Thank you very much for giving it back." I put it in one of my pouches. I go, apparently this key holds a very great treasure. We've been searching for it forever. It was bestowed to me by my father because he tends to lose things. So if we find this, it may be riches beyond our wildest dreams, as I've been told my whole life.
Hmm. Well then, we shall have to try it on every lock we find that does not.
I've tried it on everything I can find, my friend, and it hasn't worked yet.
Hmm. Well,
And
as you,
Davrin would approach. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, as you know, by our code, anything that we find is split equitably as much as possible. But you know the golden rule as well: finders, keepers. At
Certainly.
least for most things that can't be shared. That is.
Most certainly. How do you think I got all these weapons, ma'am?
As people start to settle, Davrin's going to approach. Hold on just a second. Let me pick who I approach. Oh, he is going to approach Chen. He walks up to Chen and he looks up at him.
By the way,
He
Chin is
says,
still stuck in the doorway.
"Hello." He's still stuck in the door? Well, it's even more perfect because now they're both standing in the way. Right up at Chen, and he says, "By the way, have you seen a Zimzunder person? He looks about this tall, and he moves his hand between 6 and 5 feet. He's a little bit wumbly. He wears very, very zifty and very, very snuffly clothing, and he kind of is a little bit of a fum-dum. He talks very fast, and he's very, very smart. Have you seen him?"
What?
Is he even speaking English?
I
Is he
didn't understand
speaking
half the words
common?
you
I don't even know what that means. I know I've been at sea all my life, but
Yeah, I think
where
there's
do
a
you,
language barrier.
where do you come from, sir?
I come from the Loutriff Grove.
The Loutriff Grove. Is that here on this land?
He says it with, yes, yes. It's a bit. He looks and he closes his eyes for a moment, and there's like his like a serene look on his face, and then he points towards. He points like to it would be. Are we, Carl? Are we on the south part? Like what coast are we on?
We are on an east coast.
So he would point west and north, and he would point there. He's like, it's right over there. Well, it was, and he kind of like he gets very sad, and he looks down towards his feet, or his zumzunders, as you might remember.
And as you say that, we see a brief glimpse of Davrin, and in the past, Davrin standing in this field of tree stumps, this totally decimated forest that's been completely clear cut. Standing there, and he is holding something in his hand, and it's it's his trinket, it's his wooden prism, and when he sees the sight of the forest, he drops it. He just drops it and falls to his knees. And we're back. We're now back in the tavern. Back to the present moment.
Chin is getting frustrated with the door by now, and he kind of like pushes with all his might, and kind of just eventually the wall gives. He breaks it all apart as he
And
comes bustling in.
the barkeep slams his mug down, and he goes, "Right, that's it. You lot out. Nothing but trouble."
And I look over to him and I go, really? Really, sir? You're going to try to remove me again?
And
And I just kind of, give him a little bit of a wink and so on and so forth. And go about your business, please, sir.
he's kind of actually no. Give me a intimidate.
Mhm.
I want to see what he does here, because I'm actually not sure how he.
Ooh, 19 plus 0, because I have 0 in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
He picks his mug back up, and starts wiping it down, and he mutters under his breath, "Better pay this time, rotten people."
Chen stands up straight tall, and his horns go through the ceiling. What the? Who put that there? Kind of falls back over.
And I walk over to Chen and I go, hey, do me a favor, my friend. Just bend down a bit, and then let's have you. We can't have you sit in one of these chairs. Would you mind sitting on the floor here in the corner?
He's like, "I'll be careful, I swear." And he comes up to one of the benches up at the bar, and he sits down on one of the chairs, and he kind of bends as he sits down.
And I look at him and I said, it's going to break.
I'll be fine.
I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the stool and this barkeep over here that wants to have at least my head, I believe.
The chair groans, but it carries your weight. I actually rolled for it. The chair made a
Nice.
Constitution saving throw.
That chair's constitution is serious.
Jitters is going to like go up to Anna and kind of tug on, I'm assuming, a pant leg or something. Be like, "Well, I don't need the feeds or the saddlebag or the saddle anymore. I don't know how much it's actually worth, but if you want it to help pay off like the fees for taking Joe back, you can have them."
She kind of gives it a requisite glance, and she says, "Yes, I'll be sure to deduct 8 copper from your tab." And she takes out a pen.
Okay. Goes back and sits down.
She says, "You there, barkeep. I have a saddlebag to sell you." And he kind of gets this look on his face, like, "Not another one." Like not another person ordering me around. He just kind of mutters and takes it and gives her some money. Anyone that has a fairly decent passive perception would see that it's significantly more than what she just offered in return for the 2 jitters.
Yeah, mine is rather high. It's 14. And I, not surprised. I've seen this type of racket before, so.
And she goes, "Well, I suppose you'll be wanting to know the general plan before we get started, yes?" And she rolls out this hand-drawn map. And this is a region that the 4 of you have never been to. This is kind of the southeast coast of the land. This is the mainland being the Jawbone, and the islands that dot it are called the Teeth. And you know it to be a pretty dangerous and wild place. This is one of the last places that have not been that are not under the control of the Imperium. they're so numerous and so differing that there's just kind of a no man's land between the two major port cities that make sea trade through it, from the last stop to the first stop. And it's a rather long journey. You can see just by looking at the map. It's probably at least by your eye 1,000 miles or so from one port to the next, with actual spots on the map that are blank, and some parts have question marks, and some parts have been scribbled out and changed, and you can see that written on there. It says "Islands move?" question mark, and you see a little crude drawing of a serpent sticking out of the water in one part, and she says, "Look, we're here," and she points to the top of the map. She says, "Now, when my ship was marooned, I lost something that is very valuable in the work that I do. It is something that I would call an attenuator. And what it does is it pulls you towards items of a magical nature. And it helps you identify what it is they do. Very useful when you're trying to sell them. Find out what's valuable and what's not. Now, as you might know, the items that we're finding aren't particularly legal anymore, but there's people willing to pay top dollar for anything. So it's a risk that we just have to take.
Absolutely. What is it that you do?
What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, are you a pirate like me, ma'am? Let's not beat to the bush. Are you a fucking pirate, or are you a merchant? And she gets fairly aggressive towards her.
She's kind of insulted a little bit, and she says, "My lady, what I do is I acquire items of a magical nature. Now, I find them. I do. I find them, and I remove them from their environment. Now, most of the time, the people are very happy because these things can be a little unstable sometimes. As you know, these magical items are as old as time. Some of them are a little bit more mischievous than others. But far be it from me, people want them for whatever reason. The king wants them destroyed, and the people want them for whatever reason they would. But what I do is I ensure the safe passage of said items from one stop to the other. I am, I suppose what you would say, by trade, a smuggler."
So you're a pirate like me. You can say what you want. You can flavor it however you want to, ma'am. But you are a pirate. And it's okay. As pirates band together, it's not a big deal.
Well,
So-
the main thing that differs from me and pirates is I don't steal. If somebody is belonging to, if somebody already owns the item, I do not take it. I only take that which is free for me to take.
Interesting. May not work so well for me, ma'am.
And I don't.
Davrin looks at the two of them, and when she says she doesn't steal things, Davrin he looks relieved, and he starts to say, so we don't do wrong things. And then when I forget Corey's character's name, but when
Blythe.
she says,
Blythe.
when Blythe says that would be a problem for me, Davrin's shoulders slump, and he goes, so we do wrong things.
By any means necessary, Devin. By any means necessary.
And the Anna just kind of steps forward, and she says, "The world isn't so black and white, my dear. There are shades of gray."
And greens
Sorry.
and pinks and purples too.
Yes.
Yes, all of those colors.
Wow.
Much like the sunset is a spectrum of colors, we are not one particular color or the other. We try to live by an honorable enough code, and I don't believe what we're doing is particularly wrong.
Black definitely giggles. Definitely giggles hard. You know what I mean?
Davern looks down at himself and says, "I'm mostly brown."
She says, she gets this look and says, "I'm going to avoid using so many analogies around this one." And she says, "So my plan, the first order of business is," and she would point to an island that you can see is fairly close by.
Have I seen this island before?
If you want to give me either a history or some kind of wisdom-based check.
Ho 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 ho, man, it's a good day. I won't lie about it. It is the 2-0.
Nice. You are very familiar with this.
Yeah, we've sailed all around this area. This is nothing new.
This is actually a pretty well-known island, but most people avoid it because they don't have any business there. It's just it's an island that is uninhabited except for there's a species of myconids that live there. Myconids that live there, and Anna has on good assurance that there is an attenuator there, and if we can get the help of the myconids, that they'd be able to find it pretty quickly. But it's a little tricky because they're not particularly keen on money. But I have heard that they have a bit of a problem that perhaps we can solve.
Yeah, we've my band has been to that island before. We used it as just a stopover. We're a little too intoxicated to sail still, so we stopped there for a little bit. We saw the mechanoids, but we didn't want to mess around with them too much, so we stayed near the ship.
Did you happen to notice, well, how recently were you there?
Within the last year or so.
Did you happen to notice the black mold that was festering?
No. Again, we didn't go too far into the island. We saw the mechanoids. They seemed to be a little bit aggressive towards us. As I said, they were quite intoxicated that evening, and again, I had to fix the situation as usual. So, I mean, you're right. They don't like money. We tried to offer them money, and they didn't want it.
Well, what are myconids?
Well, I suppose you would actually know that. You would probably know that, Blythe, because just by your nature of dealing with them in the past, they're humanoid-like, but they are made of fungi.
Yeah.
They're living fungi people, basically, and they can be pretty much all shapes and sizes. They're very communal. They're usually very passive, but they have no interest in.
Yeah, they weren't highly aggressive towards us or anything. They were just in the way, and the boys wanted to have target practice, but I would not let them do that day. So we tried to again pay them off and say, hey, we'll just be here for the evening, but they were not interested in any monetary units.
Would Chin know about them as well, being the scholar he is?
Yeah, you would have a kind of a cursory knowledge of them. Just having heard the word, it kind of sparks the thought in your mind. Maybe not quite so much information as Blythe would have, but certainly it's it's familiar enough to you. It would be kind of like if someone were to say unicorn. You kind of have a general idea of what one is, but you don't maybe know the lore behind it or anything like that.
Yeah. He's like, oh, Mike knows. Gotcha.
I'm just trying to gather it. Has anyone said the word mechanoid like physically at the table?
Yes, they have. No,
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Davrin, having absolutely no clue what anything is around here, would look up and say, "A mechanoid," and try to listen to what if anyone were to describe what one looks like. And
Right.
he would probably draw a conclusion that he would think at first that it looks like something from his past, but not quite. Like, Carl, you kind of know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So he would get frightful and he would get scared and tense. But then when someone says the word fungi, that they're not actually a machine, he would slow down and breathe a bit, and he'd have to take a moment.
Yes, it's only about a day's journey from here. It's not much of a detour, and it will make our jobs and our lives much easier.
Now, Chen is he's very curious about something else on the map entirely. He takes notice of that one marking that said "Islands Move?" question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And he points to that. It's like, what's that?
Davin says, "Writing."
And she would just kind of have that look like, well, you're not wrong.
Davin looks pleased with himself.
The only real way I can describe them is that they're wandering. They're wandering isles. One moment they're to port, and the next moment they're to starboard.
When she says port and starboard, Davrin's eyes kind of glaze over.
They're not supposed to do that, right?
No, and they're not supposed to disappear from sight when you're on a different island, but they do. I've found, much to my displeasure.
Davrin turns his head to the side, kind of like a curious puppy, and he says, "Do they move while you're on them?"
Absolutely, they do.
Was there something of interest on those islands that made you want to mark that?
The fact that they move, isn't that enough?
Well, strictly speaking, I don't think these islands actually move.
Strictly speaking, that makes no sense at all. It's a land mass. Land masses don't move, my friend.
I was very curious to discover the root of this, but once my
It's clear
ship
that there is
disappeared,
none because you say they move.
once my ship disappeared from view and I found myself surrounded by empty ocean, thoughts went more to survival than curiosities.
Maybe they're all actually giant turtles.
That would be super fun, he says. Like he nods in agreement, and his eyes brighten.
In either case, that sounds very interesting.
Well,
I would love to go there someday.
we will certainly encounter them. There are several, and they're not too far from here, actually.
Wonderful. So are we off then?
I believe
No
we
time
should.
like the present.
Indeed. And she kind of walks up to the barkeep and she takes a rather large coin purse and sets it on the counter and says, "For your troubles, and the roof, and the door."
Um, Chin will turn to Anna, and he'll be like, "That's not necessary. Here, I have some coins from my college." And he hands the barkeep 100 coins, 100 gold coins. And that's everything he has. Now he's broke.
Davern, at seeing all this exchange of money, is very curious, and he just gingerly picks one up, and he looks at it, and he sees that on one side it's a crown, and on the other side of it is, we'll say, a lion. And upon seeing the lion, he smiles at it and sets it down, and he says, "This is a very snuffly metal." And he like runs his fingers over it, and then he puts it back on the table.
We're gonna have to make you a dictionary, like a our language to your language dictionary.
My language? He tucks his head sideways like a puppy.
You have different words for things than we do.
Oh yes. He nods his head.
And it's really annoying.
And, Anna
I
takes
don't
her.
know. I find it kind of fascinating.
Davern knows the word annoying, so he would kind of bristle at that comment, because it's not the first time he's been called that word in his short travels. So he bristles at it, and he touches his wrists as he thinks of the shackles on him last time someone called him annoying.
Oh, don't sweat it. I forgot.
Davern.
Yeah, Devon. I forgot it already. Don't sweat
It's
it.
like my name with an R in the
He
middle
kind
of
of
it.
pats him on the back, but it's a little too rough, and he kind of slide onto the bar, and it kind of scatters the coins all about.
His trinket spills out of his pocket because he was kind of thumbing it with his left hand, and it clatters onto the table, and he immediately picks it up and looks around, like making sure, trying to see if anyone saw it, and if anyone rolls higher than a 4 on perception, so I guess passive perception would work, they would notice that this happened. He was not very discreet.
Well, I rolled a 1 on perception, so.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, passively
Well,
Blythe saw it, you know what I mean, and she just shakes her head. And I go, Anna, I'm gonna go outside and catch some air. And I go outside of the tavern.
No problem. We will be departing
Mhm.
right now. And she kind of gestures to the door, and it's a pretty short journey down to the bottom of the cliff, taking these kind of winding, steep trails.
He just has to jump off the chair because she's been standing on it the whole time in order to see over the table.
And Anna would say, just around this corner is my vessel. So, and she kind of, as you round the corner, you see this boat. The front of this boat has like a dragon carved into it, into the front of it, and it's really ornate looking. And the boat itself looks like it's made from some kind of black wood. And the boat slowly comes into view, and then you realize that it's not as big as you think. It's closer than you realize, and it's probably fits 6 people at a maximum.
Upon seeing the vessel, you would see Davern, his eyes would widen, and he'd be like, Pfeffer, that is beautiful. And he would run towards it, and he would sprint right past the boat, and he would point out to the sea, and there'd be a 3-finned dolphin-looking creature that jumps out of the water and then goes back in the water and swims away.
Yeah.
You're just going to follow him.
like that is the biggest part of much of water I've ever seen, aside from being up on the cliff. But now it's more calm, so I can enjoy it.
And Anna's got this look on her face, and she says, "And the boat's good too, right?"
He looks towards the boat. and Davrin kind of nods to her, but he also kind of mutters under his breath, and I bet you Jitters would be the only one that could hear him say, "Too many trees."
Hmm.
And it looks rather new, this boat. I mean, when I see it.
It is. It has been at sea for probably a month. It is brand new
And
paint. Everything
Mhm.
is pristine.
Yeah.
But where the name would be, it's blank. And actually, she would turn and say, "So it's tradition to have the newcomers name the boat. It's good luck," they say.
As they do. They do. They say it quite often. I've never been able to name a boat before. This is rather exciting. And I pull Anna aside. I go, we might not want to have a Davrin name it. It'll probably be named Zippity Doodah or something.
Davrin, as they're talking, Davrin would snap his fingers and say, "Tomlin's Tupers!" and point towards the sky enthusiastically.
I am inclined to agree with you.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Come up with a name. We'll say that we came up with it, and we'll just go with it, I believe, my friend. Because we're going to come up with... I guess they can name it what they like. But I board the vessel. I mean, I just changed my mind quickly. And I board the vessel and start looking around, see what I see. This is nothing new for me. I mean, I've been on a million boats.
She would turn to Chen and Jitters and say, "Well, have you any ideas?"
Somebody's mic got crazy.
Oh no! That was me just tapping my tongue. Trying to think. I can't think of a name. I've never been given this responsibility before. Whew.
Jitters is going to point to Davrin and just be like, his name sounded fine to me.
And then Davrin, upon seeing that people don't know who Tomlin is or what his Tupers would be, he holds a finger up for like to say just a moment and pulls out a small, it looks like a notebook that he's handwritten, scrawled in it, and he flips through the pages and points to a symbol that anyone that would know anything about religion would know that this is the god of this sea and his face, and they wouldn't know him by Tomlin. That's what Davrin was taught, not what you were. That's not the actual name or what it would be commonly known as. And it's a picture of the god of the sea, and then he's got he's looks like a kind of like a Poseidon, like a fish man. And then his feet are webbed feet, and he points towards the webbing of the feet and says, "Tomlin's Tupers."
Chin will look at the symbol and go, Poseidon. The Poseidon. That's the name of our ship.
Or and from on staying on the ship now, how about we just name it the Reluctant Hero?
Why is the hero reluctant?
What is reluctant?
And
Me, my friend. I'm reluctantly going with all of you.
And Anna would kind of chime in and say, "What about the anti-hero?"
Does that mean
Again,
they're not a hero?
Yeah, little one, we may do things that you're, we may do things, she says.
Okay.
How about we name it Deadpool?
Well, he just managed not to be dead.
Yeah, and then I just start rattling off as many crazy names as I possibly can think of, and it just comes back to the anti-hero, as far as I'm concerned. Does anybody else have a better We can go with the Tupper, Tuppers, Teepers, or whatever the hell that was.
Tomlin's Toopers. He kind of like he slumps a little bit.
You know, it's beginning to grow on me.
Chin voted for Poseidon.
Technically, Jitters already said she was fine with
Tomlin's Tuppers.
Davern's name. Yeah.
Oh, then I think
What
we
about
have
Poseidon's Toopers?
Chin, sure.
At this point, Blythe is considerably bothered by whatever the hell this man's talking about. And she just looks at him and goes, "What on this great blue planet of this is a effing tupa?"
Davern holds up his hand,
Uh-huh.
like as it's like splayed out, and puts his finger where there isn't between two fingers. Like
Uh-huh.
I wish I could, but he points to between his two fingers, and he moves it in like a graceful swaying motion, as if it was like a fin under the water, and says a tuper. Also tuper, and he puts up his hand like in a straight, and he puts both of his hands on his head like a shark fin, and wiggles it.
So, do you mean a fin, or do you mean a fin? That's what it's called in the real world.
Yeah.
It's not a tuper.
Yeah, Davern, that's a fin.
Oh. And he writes
I
it
don't-
down in his book. He
I
starts
don't-
writing down.
And I don't mind Tomlin's fins, so that everybody knows what we're speaking of. But how about we call it Tomlin's Revenge?
Thought you were gonna say anti-hero.
When
Tomlin's anti-hero of reluctance.
when Blythe says,
How much paint do you think we have, sir?
when Blythe says revenge, that's another word that Davern definitely knows. And his gaze, his like this lighthearted, fun guy that just kind of aloof, suddenly turns into like a stone cold. Like you can see he gets serious because he knows this word, and he says, "Tomlin's revenge sounds perfectly fine." And a slow grin creeps across his face, and then the wind blows through his hair again, and he kind of like snaps out of it and goes back. And like you can see his eyes flash like a little bit brighter.
And Anna kind of catches a glimpse of it, and she says, "It's settled then. Tomlin's revenge."
What a weird name.
It suits the crew perfectly.
Yep.
Alrighty. So we would cut away and see the name now inscribed into the boat as some time passes, as we see that it's now the next day and the boat is far to sea. If all of you could give me a Constitution check.
Do
I
I
was
have
I was gonna interject and say that Strymon also is like anti-hero and Poseidon, and they're scratched out.
Yeah.
It's been painted over.
Yeah.
Anyone who is not a sailor
I was about to say, yeah, I don't see any reason for
to roll a Constitution check.
Is this a saving throw or just a skill check?
It would probably be a saving throw.
Hey,
I got a 4.
I don't know if I have to roll because according to my
I think you're
Yes, I rolled
naturally
it.
inclined to be on vessels, even if you're not actually. Even if you've never set foot on a boat, I think your Minotaur nature makes you immune to it.
well, according to the Minotaur sheet, like they have proficiency on water vehicles, which doesn't make any sense, but
It kind of makes sense in the mythology of it. So,
okay.
basically, poor Jitters is the only one here who's.
I rolled an 11. I didn't get to see mine.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what the DC is then. Okay. The only one who's throwing up violently over the side of the boat throughout the course of the morning is poor Jitters. This sea, the swaying of the sea is very unnerving to
Can
you.
she even like get over whatever little ledge there is to get over the side of the boat?
Not particularly. And
Just going up in a bucket and having to throw it over.
Anna's basically forcing you to clean it up, which is making it worse. And Davrin is, you're actually kind of surprisingly comfortable in the open sea. Like there's something about it that feels a little bit. It's
Davin is
like,
thankful to be outside. He hated being inside last night. He would try to find, is there any amount of water on the boat? Because he has started to notice that when he gets too close to people, they smell him and they kind of like away from him. So he would
yeah,
want to somehow clean himself because he knows he's supposed to clean himself.
there's actually, if you go below decks, you would see that it's pretty standard looking. And then there's a room in the back which almost looks like the size of a closet, but it's got this very large, oversized keyhole in it. And when you ask about water and things like that, the captain says she shows that around her neck she's got this key on a chain, and she says, "Here, I'll show you where we keep our more our what's the right word?"
The head?
Well, she's trying to say that this is where she keeps her. This is where basically she smuggles away her stuff. That's the hidden items.
Compartment, hide a hole, something like that.
Yeah, it's this is where we keep our hideaways. And she opens the closet, and the inside of this closet is the size of a very large room. It's actually, the room inside is bigger than the boat. So
Davin looks around and goes, Gricklegrass, this is amazing.
and you can see that there are bins and tons of wooden bins, just huge amounts of wooden bins with items slotted into them, and this inventory sheet hanging off of the wall, and she looks at and she rifles through some papers and she says, 1.34, section 5. Follow me, and she kind of hooks you through this labyrinthine. This is basically, this room kind of feels like a grand library almost, with all of its shelves and stuff. And she comes to this, what looks to be a water skin, just a really simple leather water skin. And she says, whatever you do, don't squeeze it too hard when you're cleaning yourself. And she hands it to you.
Davin holds the water skin, and he is very thirsty, so he just takes a swig, or he puts it to his lips and turns it, and then I'd like to know what comes out of it.
Okay. It is cold, crisp, refreshing water.
Davin would drink a good swig of it, put it down, and be like, "Oh, thank you very much. This is a very chafty room."
And she would say, you gonna do something about the smell situation?
Oh, yes, and he immediately starts stripping.
I, we do have restrooms, sir.
Oh, I'm not going to rest. I'm going to wash.
Washrooms, then. Please, I don't need to see this.
He follows her to wherever the washroom is.
And she says, remember, just don't squeeze it too hard.
Davrin does not squeeze it too hard.
Okay, good. And you begin to realize as you spend a fair amount of time getting yourself clean, that this water skin does not seem to ever run out.
Shafty.
And in fact, as you're sitting there thinking, man, this water's cold, it starts to get a little bit warmer until it finally is whatever temperature you want it to be.
Davern is amazed at this, and he spends a little too long just because he definitely spends more time playing with it than actually cleaning himself. Like he gets himself clean, reasonably clean, but he is like swearing at the wall. He gives it like a little like tease and squeezes it, like trying to like figure out what might happen if he squeezes it too hard.
You are violently ejected from the washroom as a fire hose level of water sprays from it.
Nice. He picks it up, and he is unperturbed by his current state of dress. He just stands up and looks at it and says, "Snubly." And his eyes get big, and there's a big grin on his face.
And there's just one crew member in the back spooning porridge into his mouth, and he's like stops. What the hell's... And he just kind of goes back about his business. He turns around and just continues eating.
Davern goes back inside, retrieves his clothes, dons his armor, picks up his sword, which is now a darker color because it's covered in water.
Yeah.
But one would notice that it gets dry far faster than his clothes do. But it would be wet, and the handle would still be wet as he walks up to the deck of the ship.
As you emerge, you can see a small rowboat being lowered over the side of the boat, and the captain there saying, "Oh, that took far longer than I thought it would. Did you enjoy yourself?"
Yes, I did. This is a very snubbly water skin. And he hands it back to her dutifully.
And she kind of holds out her hand and says, "You know what? You hold on to it."
Davern squirrels it away without even giving her a chance to rethink that.
And she says, "Did you let the others know we're about to board?"
I sure would. And he starts sprinting around the boat, and he slips and falls.
Yes, you do.
That was something I was gonna make you do that anyways. So you beat me to it. Okay. So all right. So knowing that we are going to be leaving, so on and so forth, I was sitting near the back of the boat, just looking off into the sea, see if I see anything that looks familiar, if there's any more boats on the horizon, anything like that. Just wishing that my band comes and finds me.
Are we in a rowboat now? I'm sorry, I missed something.
Not quite.
No, we're the rowboat's preparing to depart. Basically, it's time to. The island is now in view, and they're getting ready to disembark.
Yeah, I was about to ask if we were on open seas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we seem to be in a land ho type area, right? Like we can see from where we are.
Basically, about a day passed, and then the whole thing with him showering and all that was just very recent. So.
Yeah. In sharp contrast, because Chen Kao can't go on in the decks below, he is stuck on the outside. So he's been sleeping outside all this time, and he has
Jitters has probably also been, so she can throw up as much over the edge as she can get.
Yeah. Yeah, you're effectively, at least narratively, you're definitely feeling pretty exhausted and pretty beat up. Definitely didn't get a very good night's sleep. Feeling pretty hungry, pretty thirsty, pretty sore, very out of place.
Does a little boat not sway so much?
And I walk up to her, and as I walk by, I give her a little pat in the back. I said, "Sorry, sweetie, it sways more." And I walk up to Anna, hopefully that she's a bit apart, and I go, is there a plan here? We can't be running into her all willy-nilly. We have the landlubbers here. And if we, she just sees, you see the despair in her face that she's so used to being in a very controlled environment that she needs some direction.
We'll make haste to the island as quickly as possible. I deliberately docked us closer than normal, risking my brand new hull in order to accommodate your landlubbers, as you call them.
Yes, and I look over the side and I go, it looks like you still got a few 100 feet, maybe. But you got real close here, my friend. I thought you were going to hit it.
Yeah.
As Jitters is looking queasy, Davrin would feel sorry for her because she's been one of the people that shows him real kindness, and he takes that very seriously because he doesn't get that a lot. People usually just think he's really dumb. So he says a small prayer. He looks up and he says, "Zalor, please, if she has to vomit, don't let it be inside the boat." And then he walks over and he rubs her back gently as like to comfort her.
Thank you.
And almost instantly, Jitters, you feel a lot better. Like your nausea kind of starts to go away and the world starts to stabilize a little bit.
Thank you. I that helps.
And you're you're feeling pretty hungry and pretty sore, but your nausea is pretty well. Seems to have passed at this point.
Davrin looks at her and says, "You're Zumphrey."
Sorry, which was that?
You're Zumphrey. Like you say thank you, I say you're Zumphrey.
Oh, okay, like you're welcome.
You're welcome. And he starts writing that down in his little book.
She starts munching on a ration, slowly, just in case.
And Anna would just kind of start to step into the boat and say, "Are we ready to depart then? Will you not be soiling my new rowboat?"
I'll try not to. I do feel better.
Just aim for the side. There's far more ocean than there is boat.
Okay.
And the ocean's been vomited 1,000,000 times. It doesn't matter. All you landlubbers, you have that issue when you first get on a boat.
It will pass, I promise. It is not a permanent condition.
It's not just me then?
No, but there was one time that we had Unlucky Larry, as we called him. His name was Lawrence, and he never got over his sickness, and it was quite amusing every single time he did, because and she starts explaining, and it's just disgusting what she's explaining, and she goes, and it starts laughing real hard, and then realizes nobody else is laughing with her, and he goes, "Oh, you might have had to have been there, sorry."
So Anna actually laughs and says, "You too, huh? We had Vomity Vern." He washed out after the first week.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about Larry is that he was also very good with a sword, so we kept him around until that minute, and I look over at the Minotaur and go, "Oh." Yeah, until he had an unfortunate run-in with a foe, he says.
What?
And as you guys are talking, the boat
It
begins
was
to lower.
absolutely not a minotaur, my friend. Not at all. And she's just kind of trying to make herself look like she's not saying it was a minotaur in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, just one.
Zafran rolls a 7 on insight.
Yeah, you definitely are unsure if she's lying, but you certainly feel as if she is.
I'd like to say that Chen is not quite yet in the boat.
Nope, it's getting lowered.
Yeah.
Is-
Oh well, I was gonna say he would be the last to enter the boat, and as he steps onto it, he would cause the boat to kind of shake and sway, like really violently.
Ah!
It lowers 3 feet, like.
Yes.
And she says, we'll let you get in first next time.
Yeah. Maybe he needs his own boat.
And also in contrast to Devon, who made himself squeaky clean, Chen was not able to do so. So he kind of smells a little bit.
Ah,
Kind of reeks.
got that wet dog smell going on.
Yes.
Nice.
So as you guys are, having your conversation, the boat detaches and Anna begins rowing. And it's not too long. The sea is actually pretty calm, but it gets a little choppier as you get closer to land. But she's able to guide you guys into a kind of a sandy part of the beach pretty easily.
Who's piloting the rowboat? It could be either me or
I think he said Anna.
Well,
Oh, it's Anna.
she's rowing, but
Okay. So she's piloting the boat. Yeah.
yeah, she's just kind of trying to take it into a nice soft piece of land and disembark, and then she says, okay, we just need to pull this off of the sand, otherwise it's going to disappear with us.
Yeah, or maybe like your islands.
Yeah. Well, at least this isn't a wandering island.
That we know of. And I pull the boat a little further just to make sure we're good.
And she says, the Mycenoids, they should be just in the cave here, just north. It's not too much farther.
There'll be hundreds of them, you know that, right?
Oh yes, more so now. It's just past the mating season, don't you know?
Oh.
So try not to breathe too deeply. There might still be spores about.
Yes.
We're not going to fight them, right? We want to make a deal with them? That's what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah, it's not wise to draw steel on a myconid.
Not only that, but have you ever seen an anthill?
Yes. Yes.
We're not the ants, my friend.
Hmm.
Oh, so we're the foot?
So you can be the foot, but or your toppers or whatever you called it. But there's many more of them than there are of us, and if they get word that they can have an advantage, it's going to be a problem.
Oh, so there's a lot of them.
Hundreds.
I promise I will not draw steel. I might
You
draw
don't
a chicken. As he starts to, like, draw a chicken in the sand.
Oh, lovely. You don't have steel, you have a piece of wood.
I do. The Snicker snack is very, very sharp, though. He, like,
That's
waits
a good
it-
chicken.
Thank you.
And may I hold that, my friend?
His eyes narrow. He's like,
I'll
the
give it
last
back.
person.
Here.
That's what he said.
And I take off my scimitar and I hand it to him. I go, here, you can hold mine and I will hold yours. How's that?
Okay, gingerly, very reluctantly, but he's a very trusting person, so he would let Blythe hold it, but only after he holds her scimitar in his hand.
Yeah, and I
And when
hand it
he
directly to him. I'm not trying to.
and his hand doesn't drop, and you would notice that the weight of this wood sword that you're holding
Uh-huh.
would not feel like a wooden sword.
It feels like a normal scimitar.
It would be that heavy, yes.
Okay.
It feels
And
like wood on the side, but it
you know,
wouldn't.
and I ting it, with my fingers. Does it make a ting noise, or does it just make like a dense wood noise?
It would make a hollow thunk, but it is definitely as sharp as a long sword. Or a scimitar would be.
And I, run my fingernail across it. It is rather sharp. This is an interesting piece you have here, Davin. Is it? Have you had it long?
No, I've only had it since a little bit ago. He like shakes his head a little bit. It's he whispers, it's Loudriff wood.
Loudriff wood. Interesting. Is there more of it?
He kind of like gets a little bit angry and a little bit sad, and he says, yes, there's more Loudriff wood.
Interesting. It looks as if it's an interesting material, and I hand it back to him.
He
Yeah.
he is very happy to have it back in his hand. He doesn't even pay attention to what you do with the scimitar, as he like barely even thrusts it out to you. He's much more interested in getting the sword back on his belt.
Yeah, and it's just very interesting. I'm not, no, and I mean not to rob you. It's not a problem.
Good.
I just never seen
Don't
one like
like
that
being robbed very
before.
much.
And I pull off my hand crossbow on my back, and I go, because a weapon made out of this with that type of wood would be devastating, I believe.
Yes. He says he laughs, and when he stops laughing, his face drops and is like super serious, and then he goes back to jovial self.
And again, you see this flash of this Vorus just completely clear cut. And Davrin standing at the foot of this tree. Davrin, did you want to go into the history of the sword now?
Okay. We gotta do this, and I'm running low on time. So Davrin, there's a flash, and Davrin is kneeling at the stump of this 16-foot in diameter tree. Like, this is a ridiculously big tree. He kneels before it, and you can see behind him is like turned over earth, and a stick is stuck in it with a bunch of leaves stringing off on either side of it. So it's a stick, and then in a cross pattern are two strings of leaves that kind of fall, reminiscent of a mustache, one might say. And he kneels before the tree, and his face is covered in tears, and he looks up to the sky, and he says, "What does it mean? What does it mean? What am I supposed to do? You spoke for the trees, but no one fought for the trees. But what am I supposed to do?" And he kneels, and he says a prayer. He says, "Great Zalor, and the one who gave you power, Zalor, if I perhaps speak to you now, tell me, what am I supposed to do with this?" And then the clouds darken, and you can look up, and there's super dark clouds just very concentrated over this stump, and then from that cloud, it just kind of like the atmosphere gets grayer, and the rain, it just torrential downpour all of a sudden, and you can perhaps see in the background there's just trucks and or there's carts and carts of this felled trees, and they malfunction, and they come to a stop because these are horseless drawn carts, and they come to a stop, and then the camera goes back to this big stump, and Davrin looks up and says, "What am I supposed to do?" And it echoes and echoes and echoes, and then a lightning strike comes from the stump to the sky, and there's this loud thunderclap, and there's like a kind of a bubble of force, like causes the grass to move around, and then he looks up, and there's a scimitar sprouting from the middle of the tree. And he looks at it and says, "A snicker snack," and he picks it up and looks at it quizzically. And then we're back where we are now.
Wow, that was awesome.
So, as you guys begin to press forward into this cave, you see, if we're seeing it cinematically, this is almost like a helicopter shot of the island showing you guys getting into it, and we cut away and we're in this dimly lit room with sunlight filtering into it, and this is the room of a high nobleman. You can tell by the painting, by the decoration, by the way the room is filled with just shelves and shelves of books and ancient artifacts under glass, and you can see a man in a chair that's almost built like a throne. And you see opposite of him in this open room the Lord, the large bulbous Lord, kneeling, shaking with fear at this man. And the man says, "You did what?" And he says, The prisoners, they were acquired under the Articles of Acquisition." And he holds out the paper, and the man's gauntleted hand comes out and grabs it, and he crumples it and throws it into a fire, and he says, "It's a fake, you idiot! Dispatch them immediately. Alert the Admiralty. I want that woman's head." And the man just kind of stumbles back and begins to back his way out of the room. He says, yes, of course." And he says, "Bring her to me."
Now, is this real life? Are we seeing this in real time, or is this another?
This would be like a
No.
cutscene.
Yeah,
Cutscene,
we're
okay.
seeing as players, but not as characters.
This is miles and miles away. This is
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry.
And I say, "Anna, you've gone too far this time." And this is where we'll end it for today.
Done.
Dun dun dun. Ba-der.
Oh my God! Good job, everybody.
Yeah, it was good.
That was lots of fun. Oh man.
Ooh.
Man,
Yeah.
there's so many different personalities in this. It's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, everyone's got like this really big personality. I was worried that I would, because I have this thing that I try to I almost trample people all the time. I'm always super paranoid about trampling people, and I'm glad that everyone, even Jitters, was strong enough to really hold up. It was great.
No, it's
I was a little worried when Jitters was introduced and you said she was timid. I'm like, that guy's so loud and wacky. I don't want to like step on anybody.
And my chick has just seen so much in her life that she's pretty hard. You know what I mean? So
Comparatively speaking, Chen is a shut-in.
yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a very interesting party dynamic. But if are you gonna finish the broadcast? We had 3 people watching actually.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hi.
Yeah, I posted on the brigade, so I think a couple people jumped
I wonder
on.
if Matt's one of them.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I'm pretty sure Click was
Said he was
watching
gonna
us.
watch it.
Yeah,
Hey man, drop me a line if you watched it. So
yeah,
no
it'd
one
be really
really
cool.
got this far. Because I actually got to be in his game, Suez Under Sandwall, which is
Yes.
running every Wednesday for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I
And
started
cool.
watching that. Super
that is
exciting.
super fun and
That is
super.
going to be super interesting because we have our Wednesday games as well, and like we start at 6 p.m. our time,
Yeah,
and
we end it.
as
We
soon as
end
we
when the
get
other
done,
game starts.
yeah, as soon as we get done, you're going to immediately go into his game. So
That's all right. I can handle double D&D. That's okay.
6 hours of pure ecstasy.
Yes.
I would,
Yeah.
I would absolutely be okay with that.
Yeah, me too. I would have taken it on if I didn't know that it was going to be awesome.
So then, I guess the next question is, well, first we should probably say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got the princess is awake and she wants breakfast. So
Lovely.
I promised her
yeah.
breakfast as soon as she wakes up, so I will do it.
Well, no problem. I guess a real quick outro. This has been D20 plus 1. I'm Carl, and I'm going to throw it back to Brittany, and then we'll just go on. Brittany, you can throw it to the next person until we're done with that.
Hi, I'm Brittany. I was Jitters, I think. So when are we going? When's our next play date then? Do we know that yet, or is it always going to be the third Saturday?
I think it'd be easier to keep it in Saturdays and try to just do it in the middle of the month. But if something comes up that
Yeah, we're gonna want to keep doing mornings on Saturday or Sunday.
yeah, that's the ideal time for me too. So
Okay.
But yeah.
That's me. Whoever I don't even. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye.
all right. Anybody else have anything to say, or are we just gonna end it on that?
No, 100% thank you for, being awesome, making this awesome world for us, and hopefully we don't all die next week.
Oh, speaking of that, you will be level 1 next week. So if that helps, you'll start at level 1. Start the session at level 1.
Fantastic.
All right. Okay, everyone. I'm gonna go, but check out my show. If I make it, I should be making it pretty soon. Probably not today, but maybe tomorrow if I get time. It's gonna be called Dragon Eggs Benedict. It's just gonna be me musing about my return, triumphant or otherwise. So,
I'd say it's pretty triumphant so far. So
thanks, man.
Yeah, really good, man.
Yep. And this has been Mark playing as Chin Kao. Have a great day, everyone. Have a blessed weekend.
Yeah, guys.
You too.
Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for playing, and
Thanks, Carl.
It's been a ton of fun.
Godspeed, blog.